Hello, friends, and welcome to Ashley Tries To. And today is Dye Day. I know I've mentioned it a couple of times that I am going to be dyeing the skeins that I've been spinning in my spinning journey. And today is the day where I'm going to start doing that. I don't think I'm going to get all of them done because I do have almost almost 10 different skeins that need to be dyed, but I'm not sure that I want to go ahead and do all of them at the same time. That's a lot to be drying and working on. But all of them have been prepped, and I just need to soak them before we get to actually dyeing them. I'll go ahead and prep all of my materials. I have acid dyes that I'm going to be using on wool. I've read that they're very good at giving you bright, vibrant colors, and so I'm really interested in seeing how those come out. I do have gloves, a mask, all of the things to protect me from the actual acid dyes. I've actually mixed a lot of them into water so that they are stable, so I don't need to have like a mask on all the time. But that part I've already done. I'm not going to go ahead and show you that. But we're going to be working with the first skein today is one that I was working on that I had a little bit of trouble finishing. I didn't tie it off correctly. I was not sure how to do that, and it got tangled very much. And I was so frustrated because I was so proud of the scene, and it was all tangled up. And I do have some video I can share at the end of this to show you what that was like. And hopefully you won't make the same mistakes that I made. But I think that it's a good one to start with. It's one that I'm not really sure is going to hold up to making anything with it, like a scarf or a hat, like I really want to do. So we're going to use that one as our test subject, basically, and see how that goes. I think it will go well. I've watched several videos on how to do acid dyeing. I've read some how-tos as well that weren't just YouTube videos. And I think that we're ready to try it out. I've been spinning for several weeks now, and most of it is just white wool, and I want to brighten it up and liven it up and see what we can do with it. So thank you for coming along, and we're going to go ahead and get started.
All right, so I'm starting with a half-gallon of water, and I'm bringing that up to heat right now. I'm going to go ahead and add in about half of a tablespoon of citric acid since we're only working with half a gallon of water. So okay, so that's half a tablespoon there. Okay, so we have the citric acid added to the water. We're just waiting for the water to come to the correct heat. We're looking for just around 180 degrees, maybe a little lower. From everything I read, you don't want to go over 180 degrees. So that's kind of like, I guess, right before boiling point. So you want to stay in that range. So we're just waiting for the temperature to come up. As you can see, we're getting there, but not quite yet. All right, so we have definitely exceeded that boiling point. We're in the 190s range right now. I don't know if you can see that on here. So we're gonna take this off the heating element, let it cool down to that 180, below that 180 range again that we're looking for. All right, so since it takes longer to wait for water to cool down than it does to wait for it to come to temperature, I went ahead and I ditched that first batch of water. I have plenty of citric acid to work with, so I'm not really worried about it. So I went ahead and I ditched that first batch of water, and I'm waiting for this new batch to come to temperature. This one is getting there pretty quickly. We're at in the hundreds right now. So just waiting on that. And then we're going to add in the yarn. Okay, so we reached boiling point once again. So this is take 3. I switched out the water again. Another half gallon. Another tablespoon and a half of citric acid. And we're going to go ahead and see if we can get it to around 170 degrees without going over 180 degrees. Because once it hits 180 degrees, it will start felting the yarn. So even though this yarn, I don't think I'll be able to do anything with, I still want to make sure that I'm doing it right for when I am working with the ones that I do want to keep. So here's take 3, and we'll see how it goes getting this water up to temperature. All right, so I do believe that I found the right setting on this burner to get it where I want it to be. We're under 170, we're in the 160s range. It is coming up just a little bit, but I feel like it's going to stay stable enough to keep us under that boiling point that we don't want to go over. So I'm going to go ahead and add in the color. So for this dye batch, I just want to use one color because I don't want to really do too much in this one. So I'm going to go ahead and add in some of this color. And this is the Jacquard acid dye. Okay, so I think that's enough color. I'm going to go ahead and give it a nice stir here. It's gotten pretty dark, as you can see. The color is pretty nice in that water. I hope you can see that. So I'm going to go ahead and add in my yarn now. The yarn has been soaked ahead of time and then dried a little bit so that it will better take the color. Now, the heat is going to start the process of the color going into the fiber. I'm going to go ahead and just drop it right in here. Make sure all of it gets the dye on it. Okay, and I'm going to leave this for about 20 to 30 minutes as the dye soaks into this fiber here. The citric acid in the water should cause the dye to absorb into the fiber. And then once we're done, this water should be almost clear. We should maybe see a little bit of a blue tinge, but it should be almost clear as the fiber soaks up all of that dye from the acid. All of that dye with the acid and the citric acid. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll go ahead and fast forward for 30 minutes. So it's been about 30 minutes and we have this lovely shade of yarn. This is pretty warm right now. So I'm going to go ahead and get this out of the water. There is still some dye in the water, probably because I didn't have enough yarn to soak up all of the dye, all of the acid dye that I put into the water. So I'm going to go ahead and get this rinsed out, get it hung up to dry, and we'll maybe put in another skein, and maybe we can do some tie-dyeing with that skein. So let me go ahead and get this situated. So I have that first skein hanging up to dry. I rinsed it out till the water was as clear as it could get. Now I have another skein. This is the first one that I did on my Ashford Traditional. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the water here with this blue. This blue is been used up by the other skein, so there's not going to be as much saturation, and I'm kind of actually hoping for that. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in, and then once I have it in, I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to grab another color, and I'm going to add that other color to it and see if I can get a nice like a nice tie-dye pattern to it and see how that goes. I want to use let's see, with a blue, I think I want to use the Dusty Magenta, which is going to be a dark magenta. So let's go ahead and put this in. Okay, so as you can see, this one is more purple than the color that we were going for, which was sort of like a tie-dye situation. I think I do know what I did wrong, which is that I did not get this skein wet or soak it at all beforehand. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is get this one out. I'm going to go ahead and change out this water, and I'm going to go with clean water and see if we can get that tie-dye effect on just like a plain just clean skein of yarn. All right, so I have a new batch here. This is another half gallon of water with another half a tablespoon of citric acid. As you can see, we're in the 150s range with this one. I'm going to try and keep the heat a little bit lower. The last two batches, they did seem like they had slightly felted. I'm not really sure what I'm looking for when it comes to felting my yarn. So I'm going to see if maybe this lower temperature keeps the yarn a little more in a desirable condition. So I'm going to keep the temperature low like this. I'm not going to add any dye right away. We're going to go ahead and add the yarn first, and then we're going to add the colors. So let me go ahead and pick out the colors, and I'm going to go ahead and plop the yarn in, and we'll get started with this tie-dye attempt. All right, so this is the second skein that I made on my new Ashford. I'm going to go ahead and lay this in here. Try and do it in a somewhat fashioned way. All right, and the colors that I've got, I mixed up ahead of time with the dyes that I have in some water. I have a blue teal, I have a hot fuchsia, and then I have intense violet that I'm going to go ahead and use. So the first one I'm going to put on is I'm going to put on this hot fuchsia. So let me go ahead. And I'm trying not to agitate it too much so that I'm not making the yarn felted. I am trying to keep the colors in the same color family as well, so that they're a little complementary. Colors away. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this to heat up. I do think that the distribution of the colors is a little bit better than the last batch. I think one of the differences is first I got the yarn wet, and then the second thing is that I put it in the clean citric acid, so that got citric acid into the yarn, which is going to keep it or help it absorb the color in the ways that I want it to. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll see how the colors come out in a little bit. All right, so as you can see, this one has been sitting for a minute, and the colors are starting to blend a little bit more than I would want them to for this tie-dye effect that we're going for. There is still a differentiation in the colors from what I can tell, but it's very slight. These colors are in the same family, but there still should be a distinction, especially with that fuchsia. Instead, it's kind of all gone purple and bluish purple. Excuse me. So I'm going to go ahead and get this one out, get this one rinsed out, hung up to dry. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move on to my next part of the experiment. So stay tuned for that.
All right, so that's 3 batches of dyeing done. I don't know that it was as successful as I wanted it to be after that first one. The first one came out very beautiful, very vibrant, the kind of colors that I was going for. But that was just a single color. That wasn't any mixed color. That wasn't any type of multicolor to the yarn. I do want to master this multicolor, multifaceted type of yarn. So I am going to go ahead and try again with my next batch. I've been doing good bit of spinning, so I have quite a few skeins that I can use to do the dyeing. We'll go ahead and we'll follow up in our next segment. That'll be all for this segment. Go ahead and leave me a comment if you have any suggestions on something that I'm doing wrong or anything that you are wondering about that we might be able to find out together. Go ahead and give me a comment, a like, or subscribe if you'd like. It's going to be helpful to have a community of people who want to learn the same kinds of things. So if you'd like to join me on the journeys that I'm on, I really am excited to share them with you. Again, I'll follow up with the next portion of this segment on acid dyeing. I've read that if you soak the yarn in vinegar before you add it to the acid dye, that can help with the wool grabbing onto the dye before it starts to mix into the water. So maybe I'll try that, or maybe I'll try soaking the wool in the citric acid alone. There's a couple of different techniques that I've seen. I'll link those videos in the description on some of those techniques that I've encountered in trying to learn this process. But as always, I thank you for joining me in my journey um, on learning this new fiber art of spinning and dyeing and making your own things with your own yarn. Hopefully, the next step is going to be as enjoyable as this one. Thank you.
Ugh, what a mess. All right. So this is a mess. As you can see, this is a ball of tangled yarn. And not a ball as in a ball of yarn, but this is just a mass, I guess, of tangled yarn. This is not what I had intended to do. This is some natural roving. I believe it's Corriedale is the type of, of wool that it is, that I spun out. It's still, it's getting better in the consistency, as you can see, but it is still rough, still brand new, still learning at it. But one thing that I did wrong here is that, the instructions that I was following, about finishing off your yarn, didn't really clearly state that you should tie off your skein after taking it off of your niddy noddy. I do have a niddy noddy here that has some of the yarn that I was able to untangle rolled back onto it. But as you can see, there's still a lot to untangle here. But what ended up happening is, there wasn't instructions after taking it off of the niddy noddy to tie it. So I didn't tie it in the formation that the niddy noddy created. And so the instructions also suggested using this salad spinner. As you can see, this yarn is inside of a salad spinner right now. Um, so the instructions suggested using a salad spinner to get more excess water out so it dries easier and dries faster. The problem is that with the lack of tying, putting it in the salad spinner agitated it to a point where it just became this blob here. I think it was okay after I took it out of the water. It still kept its formation because I didn't really agitate it in the water. But this is what ended up happening after the salad spinner. So this was a lot of work, several hours of work, several days of work. I'm not going to just give up on it. I'm going to go ahead and work on getting all of this untangled, back onto the niddy noddy, dried out properly so it doesn't mold or mildew. I'm going to go through all of it and get it prepped and pre-washed for the next step, which is the dyeing step. I know we want to get into that, but obviously this has been a setback. So as you can see, that mass of yarn needs to be worked out. I am going to go ahead and focus on that, get all of that ready to go and dried out and really prepped. It hasn't been pre-washed. I was just soaking it. So we do need to pre-wash it and get everything ready for the actual dyeing process. But this is for my first setback in the dyeing process isn't even related to dye. So I'll get my skein better. I'll get my skein untangled and we'll be ready to go.